I have never appreciated Audemars Piguet, and over the long term, I honestly think that they are going to overtake Patek Philippe, Rolex, and pretty much every other luxury brand out there if they play their cards right. Now, before this weekend, I literally saw AP as just the Royal Oak brand, right? They were just the brand that had one single watch that everyone just seemed to like. It was all about hype, in my humble, uninformed opinion, right? I didn't know anything. I was unaware of the history of AP and what journey they went through to actually get to where they are today. And to be completely honest, I didn't respect them. I didn't respect them as a brand. I didn't even respect the Royal Oak watch. All I knew is a lot of people liked the Royal Oak, and apparently I should like it too. But I didn't. I just didn't really see the charm in it. I didn't see the value in that particular watch until I did some digging and basically visited AP House in Bangkok. And I am not ashamed to say that I was wrong. I was so wrong. And I think I was like a lot of people where I thought the Rolexes and the Patek Philippe's of the world were kind of like the holy grails of watchmaking, and those are the types of brands that I should naturally gravitate towards. Now, if that sounds like you, by the way, I'm not going to try and change your mind in this video, but what I am going to do is I'm going to share my experience, which I think may help you to see the world of watches and buying watches in a slightly different way. Because after digging deeper this weekend, I realized that AP wasn't a brand that just got lucky. In fact, AP, in my humble opinion, is one of the most strategic, deliberate, and genius brands out there in how they are currently marketing and creating experiences for their customers. And I only realized this when I visited AP House in Bangkok this weekend. And it's pretty hard to understand this before you actually visit an AP house, but once you do, you just get it straight away. You get the vibe, you get the feeling, you get everything I'm about to talk about in this video. So if you've actually been to an AP house, then you already know what I'm going to say. But if you haven't, then go and see it for yourself. Now, most of us have been to a Rolex store or a Patek Philippe boutique, or any other watch company's boutique or store, right? It's very much the same experience. You have all the watches everywhere, and then you have a couple of salespeople who try to, educate you on the watches and tell you about, what the special editions are, etc., etc. Now, when you go to an AP house, it's the exact opposite of that. Now, finding AP house, at least for me, was not easy. It was kind of hidden away in this building, and it was right at the top floor, so it was very inconvenient to get to. But when me and my friend Ed, who has a watch company called Manami Watches, you can check them out, link is in the description, when we found it, we were met with something that we weren't really used to. Usually when you come into one of these stores, it kind of feels like, and it's not always the case, but it kind of feels like you're being pounced on by the sales staff, right? And I know that isn't the case, I know that isn't their intention, they're just trying to help, but it always feels like you're being kind of moved to a transaction. That's how I kind of feel when I go into a lot of watch stores, apart from Rolex and Patek Philippe, where they're basically just trying to get you out of the store as soon as possible so they can do whatever they do when they're not selling watches, I suppose. After this weekend, that all went out the window. Every single bit. I actually put my name down for the 39mm Royal Oak, which I don't know if the time's ever going to be right to drop 30k on that watch, but crazier things have happened. So just to set the tone, we walk in with no appointment, with no prior history. This is on a Sunday morning, right? So, there's a couple of people in there, and we are greeted by this receptionist, right? This receptionist who is not like your normal receptionist where it's like stiff and it feels like you're kind of, taking up their time. She was charming, she was warm, she was friendly, she was even giving it a little bit of kind of professional banter. It wasn't the type of banter where it kind of positioned the brand in an unprofessional way, but it was just charming enough to kind of think, oh, this isn't a receptionist, this is like someone who is being herself, she's being authentic, she is being a person instead of like a robot, which is what you usually see on receptions. So when it comes to introducing us to the salesperson, exact same thing. We're sat down at this big table, and if you've ever been inside an AP house, you know what I mean. It's not like a boutique. It's like you're in someone's living room. It's like you've got a best friend who's a billionaire and he has like a rooftop penthouse, and you're just in there in this incredible space with, furniture that you would see in a penthouse. It doesn't feel like it's a store or a boutique, because it isn't. It's not a place to sell, it's a place to kind of connect and to talk watches and to kind of fall in love with the brand and discover the brand. And it's just got this massive wall of spirits and stuff, and she gave us a nice coffee with these little macadamia biscuits. Do not get me started about those were incredible. And it was just very warm and welcoming. The salesperson, exactly the same situation. The salesperson was warm, charming, friendly, not pushy whatsoever. She didn't do the typical salesperson, or bad salesperson should I say, mistakes. She didn't talk about what watches we wanted. She was like, oh, so what do you actually look for in a watch? She wanted to understand what our needs were. She was trying to dig deeper in regards to not just what we wanted, but who we were. And that might sound cliche, that might sound like it's just kind of some slimy sales tactic, but it wasn't. She was genuine. She was asking us authentically, okay, like, you know, what types of things you kind of do with your watch, you know, like what types of, you know, styles do you usually kind of lean towards? You know, she did eventually ask us later on down the line, are there any particular models that you're kind of interested in trying on? We must have tried on around 5 or 6 different watches. Whereas in Rolex, if you literally try on one, you literally feel like you're wasting the person's time, and they just kind of want you gone basically so they can, you know, enjoy the rest of their day. She couldn't have spent more time with us. She even brought along this massive sort of example of the movement that's inside the Royal Oak. So she actually showed us with the chronograph how the movement works inside the actual watch and how it kind of switches from day to date to make sure that it obviously accounts for leap years, etc. Now, this is all technical stuff beyond my area of comprehension, at least for now, but it is just incredible the amount of knowledge that she had. And it was very evident that she didn't just work there. She actually loved the product, and I think she was treated very differently from an employment standpoint than someone who works at a boutique, who works for a third-party distributor. And that is the key difference, at least from my experience of this weekend. And it was mind-blowing how different you left feeling after you had been really taken care of, as opposed to just kind of going through the motions of visiting one of these luxury boutiques or one of these luxury stores from the likes of Rolex or Patek, who essentially outsource their distribution. And I honestly think that the fact that AP is really owning their in-store experience could be one of the most distinctive factors between someone choosing to buy a Royal Oak as opposed to a Nautilus or an Aquanaut or whatever. It makes a massive difference. And let's be honest, right? Let's be completely honest with each other. Me and you. I know for a fact, through the comments that I read, through the people who I engage with on a daily basis, through Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, I know that people are becoming very wise and very tired and very worn out with the games that the ADs for Rolex and Patek Philippe and, you know, some other brands as well play. We all understand the game, right? We know what the game is, and everyone's becoming wise to it. And most of the comments, I'd say maybe 60%, are people getting tired of that game because they don't want to be seen as a fool, right? If you're giving someone $10,000 or whatever, you are spending your hard-earned money to buy a product from a brand. How many other brands out there, apart from the ones that I've just mentioned, are taking your hard-earned money and then making you feel bad about it? Because I'll be honest, if Rolex called me today and said, oh, we've got your, you know, your green dial Datejust, which I ended up having to go to the grey market for, do you want to buy it? I would buy it, then I would flip it straight away, 100%. Buy it, flip it for a profit, why not? I'd probably make my money back off this than I paid extra. The market hasn't been like this forever, where demand has far outweighed the amount of supply that Rolex can bring into the market. Beforehand, you could walk into a Rolex store about 10 years ago and probably get a discount on a watch. I've seen comments from some people who said that, you know, a fair while ago, when you walked into a Rolex store, you could actually ask for a discount and buy a watch on the day. So things are changing, and ultimately, at the moment, demand far outweighs supply. Slowly but surely, that demand, I think, is going to dwindle because people are becoming a lot wiser. People are becoming far more knowledgeable in regards to not just the fact that Rolex and Patek Philippe are playing this game, or the ADs that are representing them are playing this game, which they shouldn't be. I think that people are becoming more knowledgeable in regards to what they're actually getting for their money. Because let's be completely brutally honest. Does Rolex make incredible watches? Yes. Are they the best watches out there? In terms of value for money, no, they're not. And if anyone disagrees with me, then feel free to let me know, but they're not. The reason I know that is I've been out there and I've held a lot of watches and I've felt them in my own hands, and I can see the different finishing, I understand the specs to a certain degree, and above all else, I just think that people are going to start to get tired with the Rolex brand kind of playing them as an idiot, if that makes sense, even though it is the third parties who are kind of representing them and not the actual brand themselves. And I truly think that Rolex and Patek and these other brands are going to have to make this shift from outsourcing their distribution to creating these in-store experiences that actually present the brand and represent the brand in the right way. Which is why AP is a million miles ahead, because they already have these private, relaxed lounges where you can go and learn about the product and kind of enter their world. And that's exactly what they want to do. They don't want to bring you into AP House to sell you a watch. Well, they kind of do, but they also just want to kind of educate you. They want to discover more about you and also help you discover more about them to see if it's a nice fit. And listen, it feels like that. It doesn't feel like they're trying to sell you something, even if they are, which, you know, every brand is trying to sell you something, but it's just not the same. Like, it doesn't feel like it. It feels natural, it feels organic, and you start to fall in love with, because you learn more about the brand, what the brand is about. And you appreciate the fact that they're not trying to treat you like shit. I'm sorry to say it, but they are. Nobody likes being disrespected. And the fact that people actually give their money to a brand and beg an AD to give them an allocation is pathetic. It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. And I've been there for like 2 weeks until I kind of cracked my head, against the wall and was like, okay, maybe this isn't the best way to, spend my money to a business that doesn't even appreciate me as a customer. It's not the fact that they don't have the watches there. It's not the fact that they have a good system for actually allocating the watches. And I'm not speaking for every single AD out there. I've had a lot of comments from people who have said, listen, my AD is incredible. I literally went in and I got the exact watch that I wanted, and it took like 6 months or something, and they're very honest and they're very genuine. But a lot of ADs are not like that. And I would say the vast majority of ADs that represent Rolex are not like that. Tell me I'm wrong. In the comments, tell me I'm wrong, that the vast majority are not like that. Maybe you get like, a couple which are genuine, authentic, down to earth, and those guys are probably going to win over the long term as well. But these other ADs that make you buy, 10 grand's worth of other products just so you can get the watch that you actually want, pathetic, absolutely pathetic, unethical, and kind of disgusting, to be completely honest. Kind of disgusting. It is the type of business practice that is very short-lived. It is a type of business practice that is going to end up in a very big mess for the actual brand. And Rolex is a brand I love. I love Rolex as a brand, but the distribution of their product is diabolical. But what do you think? Have you been to an AP house? Are you interested in going? Are you interested in AP in general? Do you not really know that much? Let me know what your opinions are on AP, because I'm truly interested. I know what my opinion was before visiting AP house this weekend, and my opinion has completely changed, but I'm curious to see what you think. But apart from that, I'll see you in the next video.